Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Julie Steers, and I will be hosting the workshop for you today for Grad School 101. I am the Senior Program Coordinator for the Graduate Studies Center here at Cal State Fullerton. With me, I have my colleague Carolyn, who will be managing the chat box. So if you have questions along the way, feel free to go ahead and type it in the chat. We'll also have time at the end for questions, but go ahead and type them into the chat along the way, and we will get to those as we can, okay? So again, welcome for those of you who are joining us today. Thank you. And I want to start by saying you will be receiving a recording of the session today and the slides after the session. So feel free to take notes, but you will be getting that follow-up information after the session, okay? So don't worry too much if you miss a detail or if you want to refer back. We'll send those to all registrants. It'll go to your email address that you registered with. So you'll get that after the session, okay? Let's go ahead and jump in and get started on Grad School 101. All right, so here is our agenda for today. What we're going to go over, we're going to talk about what is grad school. This workshop is really for those who are just getting started thinking about the grad school process. So we'll cover that first. And then we'll go into why grad school, what are some of the reasons that people are still choosing to go to a graduate program. And then we will also talk about how to find the right grad program for you. What are the things you should be considering? And then some of the process of applying to grad school so you can know what to expect and how to prepare. We'll also talk about grad school funding, so things that you can look out for if you're concerned with funding, and also so that you can plan ahead for that. And then we'll go into campus resources that we have available here at Cal State Fullerton to help you as you go through this process. Okay, and again, we'll have time for questions at the end, but definitely feel free to put things in the chat box, and Carolyn can answer those for you, or she'll ask me in real time as well. Okay. All right. So jumping in is what is grad school? So let's talk a little bit about some particular points of grad school. So first, grad school is one option that students with a bachelor's degree can move on to. So you start with your undergraduate bachelor's degree and you move on to a graduate program is kind of the next academic step if you decide to continue on after your undergraduate degree. Okay. The degree itself can vary. There's lots of different graduate programs and graduate degrees out there. A lot of them will result in a master's degree, and some will result in a doctorate degree. So some of the examples are listed there. So you'll see Master of Science, Master of Arts, Master of Fine Arts, and then also Doctor of Philosophy, PhD. Okay, so these are just a few. There are many others, but it just gives you an idea. All of these programs that you've heard of before, these degrees, these are all graduate degrees that come out of a graduate program. Okay. And then the requirements for graduate school, what you should expect is that the applications for graduate school and admissions requirements all vary greatly by program. So it's not going to be one unified application where you kind of submit everything at once or all of the same materials. It's going to be different. Okay, so you want to keep that in mind, and we'll talk a little bit more about how to organize that. And then timeline. So students can start graduate school right after completing their undergraduate degree, their bachelor's, or you can take some time off and gain work experience. It's really up to the student and what they feel is best for them. There's no right or wrong way to do that and to go about the timeline. We'll give some other examples of timeline later in the session as well. All right, so a little bit more, what about the programs itself for grad school and what you're going to learn? So in general, grad programs are advanced programs of study focused on a particular academic discipline or profession. So you're going to dive deeper into a little bit more of a specialized discipline or your academic focus. Most grad programs are going to have more of a focus on research and centered on generating original research in a particular discipline. Okay. And then some grad programs are centered on developing skills and knowledge for a particular profession. The one that comes to mind is like a master's of social work, right? And they want to, after their grad degree, be a social worker. So it's preparing them for a specific profession. Nursing would be another example. Okay. So just to expand on that a little bit and kind of compare to undergrad, because many of you are probably familiar with what undergrad feels like. So let's tell you how those are different. So in terms of curriculum for undergrad or bachelor's degree programs, they offer a more structured curriculum and content that students are expected to learn and retain. Okay, so students are expected to learn what is already known. You study based on what your professors are telling you, based on, theories and things that have already been established. In grad school and master's program, there's still required courses for sure, but they're often less structured in relation to content, and it gives you more autonomy as a student, more freedom. And grad students are expected to create new knowledge and research content based on their interests. So it's not just learning other established content, but it's also creating new content, which is a lot of time where research comes into play. And that's a lot of what a grad program is giving you opportunity to expand on your interests and even create new content for the academic world. Okay. As far as academic expectations, undergrads are typically in good academic standing as long as you have a 2.0 GPA or higher. And then there are a lot more opportunities to repeat coursework if needed, if that required grade or GPA is not being earned. With grad students, you're typically in good academic standing if you have a 3.0 or higher. And some programs even have a grade requirement of a B or better. So next scale up in terms of what they're looking for and expecting. And then there's less flexibility to retake courses if the required grade is not earned. For example, grad students at Fullerton can only repeat 3 units of coursework. So that's really like one class. Okay, so they hold you to a much higher academic standard. And then in terms of coursework at CSUF, as an example, this might look a little different at other universities, but at CSUF, undergrads typically take 12 semester units to be considered full-time, but you can take up to 18 in a semester. And there's also part-time unit options depending on the program. And then at CSUF for grad students, you typically take 9 to 12 units to be full-time, so a little bit less. However, the content, right, and the academic expectations are higher, so you're going to have probably more work than you're doing in undergrad, and also just different kinds of work. Okay, and then there's still part-time unit options depending on the program. All right, so that's undergrad versus grad programs. So at the CSU specifically, and again, obviously we are not the only ones who offer grad programs, but we like to speak about the CSU just to give you a picture of what it can look like. But if you go to a CSU for a grad program, you will have one of these requirements built into your graduate program called a culminating experience. It might be called something different at other schools or universities, other grad programs, but an idea of this is probably going to be built in at some point. So, and like a requirement like this. So one example that, or of these three options, the first is a thesis. So this is a written a product of a systematic study of a significant topic. So it's a long research paper, right, on a particular topic, and it's written and it's pretty straightforward. This is what you're putting forth, okay? Option two is a project. It's still a significant undertaking appropriate to your level, but it is often focused on either the arts or professional fields, and it's not necessarily going to be a written piece of work. Maybe it's a presentation, maybe it's something that you're doing as part of your arts program, like you're presenting something like that. Okay. And then third option is a comprehensive exam. This is an assessment of students' skills and to demonstrate their level of knowledge. So this might be like a comp exam for, again, nursing or something like that, you have to pass to get your credential, or for like a teaching master's, something like that. So it's more of a test than something that you're turning in as a project. So again, these are what we do here at the CSU, but likely you'll have something similar even if you're applying to graduate programs outside of the CSU. Okay, so now that we've given you a little more information, like what is grad school, what's it going to feel like, let's move into why grad school. So especially in this day and time, and less people are focusing on, statistically, less people are focusing on higher education, right? And thinking about different roads to get to jobs that they want. But a lot of times we're still choosing grad programs to get us to those specific jobs. And so these are the reasons why people are still coming to grad school, and it's still serving as a benefit for them. So first is greater income potential. If you look at the chart on the right there, we've gotten this from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, and you'll see it gives the average weekly earnings depending on education level. So you'll see, bachelor's degree, and then master's degree is higher. Professional degree, that might be like an MBA or lawyer, and then doctoral degree is more like a PhD. Okay, so this shows that the higher level of education you have, the still higher level of weekly earnings that you have on average. Okay, so that's the one great reason why students are still picking to go to a grad program. Lower unemployment rates, increased leadership roles, base requirements for some jobs, mobility for your family and your community. Larger access to healthcare and retirement plans is often a great incentive. And then sometimes students just really want to learn and they want to go back to school for their own personal education goals, or they're a lifelong learner. So those are some other reasons why students find themselves applying to and completing graduate degrees. Okay. So now let's talk about finding the right grad program. So we can talk a lot about what grad school is and why you should consider it, but how do you go about actually finding a program that's right for you? So first, we really recommend for you to think about exploring your career and academic interests. If you already know kind of the job or profession you think you want to end up in, that's great. If you're not sure and it's still feeling kind of murky, or you have a lot of options, that's where we would recommend for you to start, because once you have information on your career and kind of what path or what endpoint you want to get to, you can help fill in the gap of the path to get there. So it's definitely up to you. There's so many options of programs and universities, and again, we recommend starting with those career goals. So first and foremost, great resource for you is the Career Center. They can help you identify your career goals and understand career outcomes and the job market, because that matters, right? It matters what you want to do and in terms of income and things like that in the future. So the Career Center, we will plug them throughout this session. You should definitely utilize their resources while you are a current student, because once you graduate, those resources aren't free anymore. They aren't included in your fees. Okay. Another resource and place for you to start in thinking about grad programs is your professors. They can tell you their own experience, where they went to school, what they liked about it and didn't. And they can also connect you with other colleagues and specialties that maybe you haven't thought about before, and help you explore other options outside of the CSU even. Okay. And then informational interviews are also really great. It's basically just a meeting with someone who has a job that you're considering, right? So you want to learn more about the field, about their specific position and how they got there. And that can often help color your career goals as well. And then also explore your network even fuller or more. So classmates, staff, coworkers, alumni, pick their brains, see what they've done, see what sounds interesting to you, and get their experiences. You can also go to conferences, grad school fairs, career fairs, and even join professional organizations, because they can have recommendations of different grad programs that have maybe specific programs that might be a good fit for that profession. Okay, so this is where the exploration happens, and this is kind of on your plate. You have to decide what feels like the right fit and path for you. Okay, so as you're researching programs and thinking about, what kinds of programs do I want to do, hopefully you'll start narrowing it down to, I want to get a master's in sociology or something like that, right? Well, even once you have it narrowed down to this is what you want to get your master's in, you'll have 100 programs that you could go and get your master's in sociology. So you want to start researching and thinking about these different categories and asking yourself, what is it that I need from a grad program? So when you're researching, these are some things that you should be asking yourself and kind of making note of the program. So first, coursework. This is really important because this is at the core what your program is, what you're going to be learning. So you want to make note if they have any emphases or concentrations. Do they have what you want to learn? Do they focus on that particular niche if you have one? What's their culminating experience? Does that match what you want to do? Maybe you really want to do a thesis, but that program doesn't offer one. And then, is the program offered in the timeline you need? Daytime, maybe evening classes, so forth. So these are some really core things that you want to be making note of when you're researching, and make note of what you need and what you're looking for. Next, you'll see public universities versus private universities. A lot of times the differences are going to showcase in cost. Private is usually more expensive, but they might provide different or more funding. Kind of depends on the situation. You'll also see a difference in size of university, that large universities can be private or public. So you just want to think about, the size of networking opportunities, research opportunities, individual attention, things like that. And then size of the program itself. Maybe it's a huge university, but it's a really small graduate program, and you're going to get a lot of one-on-one attention from your professors, for example. And maybe they have a cohort model, and that's what you want. Cohort model, if you haven't heard of that before, basically it means that you are moving along in your grad program with the same group of people. You take the same classes every semester. You really get to know those people. Maybe that's exactly what you want. Maybe you want to be able to have a larger group that you're networking with. It's all up to you and your preference. Okay. You also want to think about rankings, but definitely look at reputable ranking lists for overall grad school, but also your specific program. Because again, maybe something at a large university like UC Berkeley, right? It's going to have one ranking for the whole university, but it will also likely have a ranking for that Master's of Sociology program that you might be considering. So you can look at both. I've listed a few reputable lists as far as rankings that can kind of get you started. And then you also want to, in considering these rankings, think about the level and opportunity of research, because again, that's a bigger part of grad programs, especially if you are interested in moving on to maybe a PhD in the future and leaving yourself open to that. Okay. Next, you want to think about modalities. So what is it that you need, especially now, right? There are so many more options, I think, in terms of online and hybrid courses. So think about if that's what you need, or do you learn best in person and in a classroom? Okay. And when you're looking at online programs, there are two different kinds of online programs and online classes. There's asynchronous, meaning that it's not a live session or a live lecture for the class. Maybe you log in, you do your work, you view recordings, you turn in your assignments. Synchronous means that it's live lectures or sessions throughout the course or throughout the program. So keep that in mind too. Accreditation is important. Accreditation basically means it's a process that institutions, universities undergo to confirm that they meet high quality emotional educational standards. Okay, so they want to make sure that these schools are still teaching what they should be teaching and how they should be teaching, so that you're getting a quality education. So accreditation is really important. There's different regional or national accrediting agencies, and some professions or certifications will have a specific accreditation that they're looking for. So, you know, as you're doing your research into different professions, think about that too. If especially credential type programs, they might have a specific accreditation that they need in that profession. Okay. And then, of course, faculty are really important. Their research focuses on, you want to know their research focus and their scholarly work, size of faculty in the program and caliber, as well as curriculum and courses themselves that they're teaching. Are they reflective of the field? And are they teaching what you want to learn? Okay, and this is the last slide with some different things that you should be considering when you're researching grad programs. So cost, this is obviously important. You want to make sure that you are still submitting FAFSA each year. Grad students can still submit FAFSA, okay? So the reward is going to look different, but if you do it, especially for undergrad, we recommend continue doing it for grad school as you're applying and starting programs. And before taking out any funding, understand the differences between grants, scholarships, subsidized loans, unsubsidized loans. Make sure you're being informed there. You can always reach out to the financial aid office of the university that you're applying to get some clarification if you're unsure. Okay. And then location is really important too. Maybe you want to stay local and so that you can live where you currently are. Maybe you want to move out of state for your grad program. Up to you, but you want to think about where is your support system? Are you comfortable in the area? Cost of living and housing, and also just your lifestyle. Is it going to fit with where this school or this university is? And then lastly, you want to think about student resources and support. So program advisor, did you meet them? Have you talked with them? Were they helpful? Different university services, career center, financial aid, those are pretty standard across the board. And then even student organizations and events, it kind of depends how involved you want to be as a grad student. Okay, so these are all things that you want to be noting when you are deciding on grad programs. How do you organize all of that information, right? We talked about a ton. So this is a worksheet that I got off of Google. I just searched for it and there's a ton of different ones. And you'll see that it helps you kind of organize a lot of the information we talked about, and then with the different college names that you are researching, so that you can really keep track of what you're researching, what you're figuring out, so that then you can decide which ones to apply to. Okay, so this can be a really helpful way to organize yourself. This is another example of once you get to the application stage of you being able to track kind of where you're at. This one focuses a little more on those application requirements. Did you send your transcript to each school? Did you get a letter of recommendation for each school? So forth. Okay, so that will help you there and to keep you organized in that way. Okay. So now that that kind of transitions us into talking about the actual applying for grad school. Okay. So here are some things to do to prepare yourself as you're applying to grad school. First, if you're still in your undergraduate program, we recommend start with getting a graduation check-in with your academic advisor. Get a feel for when you are realistically planning to graduate, what semester, okay? Make sure you're on track. Is there anything that you need to work on, like boosting your GPA before you graduate? Anything that they would recommend as they're looking at your record? So that's always a great place to start, because it also helps you decide on timeline when you know when you're about to graduate or when you're planning to finish. Okay. And then as you're doing all this research that we talked about, you want to confirm what materials are required for each program. So that also includes taking any required entrance exams that might be coming up. Okay, GRE, GMAT, LSAT, there might be some others, but those are the most common. These are all standardized tests that some programs will require, some will not. So you have to make note of which ones need it. If at least one of your top picks requires it, you're probably going to have to take the exam, right? Because you don't want to miss out on a school just because you don't want to take the exam. But if most of your top picks don't require it, then don't take it. If it's not a requirement, don't waste money taking it. But if it is a requirement, then there's not really a way around it. Okay, and the note that the Career Center can review your statement of purpose and resume. Those are often requirements for applications. So keep that in mind as you're applying. You can always get a second set of eyes on it. Okay, and then letters of recommendation are often required as well. So as you're kind of in the planning phase, you want to start thinking about who would I ask for a letter of recommendation from my professors, and start building those relationships with faculty members so that you can ask them for this favor, because letters of recommendation, it's basically a favor, right? They're doing more work for you and writing you a letter of recommendation. Most often they're more than happy to do it, but you want to treat it with that respect and to maintain contact with them and make sure that they know all of the great things about you that they want to highlight in that letter of recommendation. Okay, and then you want to look into research opportunities as an undergraduate student if you can, because often this will help give you a little bit of an edge in a grad program, especially if it's a research-focused grad program. So reach out to departments and professors for research opportunities. Check your CSUF email announcements across the campus. Make sure you're not missing out on something that might be a really great opportunity for you to squeeze in when you're a junior or senior in your undergraduate program. Okay. And then also think about internship or job opportunities. Is there something that you can add in here that will give you an edge as well? Will it help boost your application? And the Career Center can help you here as well and help you look for opportunities for internships or jobs. Okay, so here is a little bit about timeline, because we often get a lot of questions about, well, when do I start applying and so forth. So in the first column, you'll see this is a one plan for if you're going from your undergrad to a master's program with no gap, meaning that you're not taking any time off in between. You don't want to lose your momentum, you've decided, and you want to go straight into a graduate program. So as you're a freshman and sophomore, if there's any of you in here, you want to explore major and coursework options, finalize your major, right? You're just getting started. Junior year, you want to think about career exploration and focusing on GPA, internship, research opportunities, and then maybe start researching those grad programs and thinking about what might be a good fit for you. And then senior year, confirm your graduation date, begin actually applying to grad school in the fall semester. So most deadlines, you're going to want to apply in the fall semester of your senior year if you plan to have no breaks, right? From when you graduate undergrad to starting masters. Okay, many deadlines are at the end of December or beginning of early January, and we always want you to apply as early as possible, because sometimes it's rolling admission and they can only let in so many people. Okay, so you want to keep that in mind too. Okay, next column you'll see it's still undergrad to master's, but you're going to add a gap year or years in between. Maybe you've decided you want to add some time to work, you want to take a break, right, from school before you go back. All fine, okay? So basically everything from the first column is about the same. You'll get through your bachelor's degree, and then in your gap year, you're going to gain work or research experience. You're going to stay connected with your faculty so that you can still ask for those letters of recommendation, and you're going to utilize Career Center resources, okay? And then spring of the application year, okay, you're going to confirm application requirements, maybe take any entrance exams that you need. You're going to start getting things together. And then fall of application year, you're going to begin applying to grad school in the fall semester. Same thing, many deadlines are in end of December, early January. Okay, so it's basically just prolonging the process. You'll add some gap years, a year or years in between there, okay, before you find your way back to your program. And then the third column you'll see is undergrad to master's to PhD. So maybe you want to go all the way to the PhD, and maybe you'll have gap year, maybe you won't, okay? So you'll kind of pick up with the second column in your master's program. It's usually 2 to 3 years, depending on which program. You'll take time to work on research and develop relationships with faculty. Spring of application year, you're going to confirm all your application requirements. You're going to gather everything together, take any entrance exams, check expiration dates of those entrance exams, because sometimes they're only 5 years for those scores, like the GRE, for example. And then fall of application year, you'll begin applying to doctoral programs in the fall semester, same December, early January, typical deadlines. Okay, so this really is just to show you there's no right path. You can go a variety of different ways, and you can go right after right? Say you graduate in spring of 2023 and you can start a grad program in fall of 2023 if you want to, okay? That would be option one, or maybe you want to add some gap years. It's all up to you. Don't feel like you have to go at anyone else's pace. It's your pace, okay? All right, so let's talk a little bit about actually applying, and especially if you want to apply to the CSU, which a lot of our students who are undergrads at the CSU want to apply to the CSU, okay, for a grad program. So there are two big admission steps, and you must be admitted on both levels. So that means you need to be university eligible or CSU eligible, and you also need to be program or department eligible and meet individual program standards. So there's university standards and there's program standards, okay, for graduate application. So university minimum requirements. You'll have to do Cal State Apply. If you're a current CSU student, you're going to be somewhat familiar with this. You'll probably remember from before, okay? And you'll have to submit that CSU-wide application for the grad program of your choice. You need to have your 4-year baccalaureate degree, which is your undergrad degree. And you want to make sure you're in good academic standing in the last college or university attended, and official transcripts are required, okay? And then GPA minimum requirements for the university level, 2.5 cumulative GPA from the last degree completed, so that would probably be your bachelor's, okay? Or 2.5 GPA in the last 60 semester or 90 quarter units attempted. So say you went to the community college, or say you had a rough first couple years, but your last 2 years were great, right? So you could just use your last 60 semester units if your GPA is above the 2.5 in that way, okay? So there's a couple different options for GPA to get you to that minimum. Okay, and then a few additional things. If you're an international applicant for a grad program, I'll let you read those. And again, you'll get the slides for this, but a few additional things and requirements for international students. Okay. All right, so that was the CSU-wide one. Now we're going to go into the smaller department program requirements, okay? So often programs have additional specific requirements for things that they need from applicants, okay? So how do you know if they need additional things? You're going to reach out to the department itself. They're going to have it posted on their website, or you'll talk with their advisor. Okay, or you can go on Cal State Apply's program materials section and it will list everything for each individual program. So there's a few different ways. Easiest way we always recommend, if you have any questions about a graduate program here at Cal State Fullerton specifically, reach out to that department and talk with that graduate advisor. It's their, job to talk about these programs and to help give you an idea of what they're looking for in applicants and what they need in their applications, okay? Here are some possible materials that you might have to turn in at the department or program level. They might have an extra application. They might, beyond Cal State Apply, they might need extra transcripts, test scores like the GRE, GMAT, letters of recommendation, essays, personal statement, writing sample. Maybe they require an interview or an audition as well. So it's all going to be dependent on the department and the program. And again, reach out to that graduate advisor to learn more. Okay. All right, and then just to give you an idea of timeline, if you are interested in applying to the CSU specifically, these are the same every year. So if you want to start a grad program in the fall, which most grad programs start in the fall, the application will open October 1st. If you want to start in the spring, the application will open August 1st, and the deadlines for each program is going to vary. And so you can find those either on the Cal State Apply website or the program or department website, or from the advisor for the program. Okay. All right, we often get, does CSUF have a program in whatever? Probably. We have over 60 grad programs that, and with additional credential programs as well that you can take a look at. So definitely research beyond the CSU, research beyond Cal State Fullerton, but also know if you love Fullerton and you want to come and do another degree here with us, look into what we offer, because we probably do have a program that's pretty similar to what you're looking for, because we offer quite a bit. Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit about funding and things to look for. So grants are one aspect of funding that can be given to grad students when they are going to grad school. Grants are given when money doesn't need to be paid back. You might have some grants for your undergrad. There are things for grants for grad programs as well. Grad students still have to fill out the FAFSA or the California Dream Act each year for federal or state grants and loan offerings. So that's what we recommend. Definitely keep filling out that FAFSA or CDA each year. Still apply even if you've been told that your financial aid is running out. This is different from the undergrad to the grad level. Okay, it doesn't hurt you to apply. It's free, so you can always apply and see, what you're being offered for your grad program. March 2nd is the priority deadline each year for a FAFSA. Okay, so if you're already doing it, just keep up the habit. Just keep doing it. Okay, scholarship and fellowships. So the CSUF, or Cal State Fullerton, and the CSU offer a variety of scholarships that can be seen with the financial aid office. There's a whole scholarship application. If you go through your student portal and just search for scholarship, or you should see it on your toolbar. Some of these are also outside and independent scholarships that you can look for. And scholarships and fellowships sometimes have requirements attached, so keep those in mind. Maybe you have to attend a certain number of meetings, things like that. So you want to make sure that you can commit to whatever it is that they need from you. All right, and then loans are, of course, an option for grad programs as well. We obviously want you to explore other avenues first, but federal loan options for grad students that would still come from FAFSA or the CDA. And then double check the terms for loans, ask questions if you're unclear. I think it's really common to be like, I don't know what they're saying, but I just need to pay for something. I get that, but definitely try to be as informed as you can. Reach out to the financial aid office, do your research yourself as well, okay? And research repayment and even forgiveness options, because those are things that are out there depending on your field. And then also look into assistantships or campus jobs, whether it's here at Cal State Fullerton or at another university. There are always lots of campus opportunities for students. Check out the Career Center again for them to help you dive into those options. And then also departments and instructors might have things that come up and they email them out. So make sure you're checking your email to get those opportunities. Make sure you're not missing out. Okay. And then there are a few specific grad studies. So our office funding opportunities, if you do decide to go to a CSUF grad program, there's the Grad Equity Fellowship, Palante Fellowship, Sally Casanova, and CDIP. All of these are on our funding website, which we'll have a link to it on the next slide, which you'll get in your follow-up email. Okay. And so these are campus resources to definitely utilize. So to reach out to a program advisor, you'll have a link there. Also, if you feel like you need some more assistance, this really didn't, dive quite as deep as you wanted to, you're still not sure where to get started, you can always do prospective advising with Project Upgrads, which is a grant program on campus, and you'll see the advisor's information there as well. Again, you'll get all the clickable links in a follow-up email. If we haven't plugged the Career Center enough, let's do it one more time. Reach out to them for assistance in tons of things and all the things that we discussed in the session today. You'll see we have the Grad Study Center that is open to our grad students or prospective students, so drop by and see what we offer. Office of Admissions, especially if you're applying here to Cal State Fullerton, financial aid, and then there's that funding opportunity website for grad studies as well. Okay. Lastly, we would love if you are able to go ahead and take a really quick survey for us. Thank you, Carolyn, who's just typed in the link in the chat box, or there's a QR code for you as well. So again, it's a really quick survey. It just helps us know how we did today and if it was helpful for you so that we can continue offering things like this, okay? That's all of the content we needed to get through today. So after you do the survey, you're free to head out, but if you do have any additional questions, Carolyn and I will hang out for the next couple minutes and answer those for you. So if you are heading out, thank you so much for joining us today, and we really appreciate it, and we'll answer any questions. I see one from Claudia.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I heard you say that the resources that they're not free after you graduate. Is there a certain amount of time that we have until we can use those resources? Because I did hear, I heard two different things. I heard 6 months and I heard a year. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, for the Career Center, I think they let you, I'm not sure of the time frame. Maybe Carolyn knows off the top of her head, but I would reach out to them directly. You can still purchase like an alumni package, and even once it runs out, I think they give you a little bit of leeway, but I'm not sure of the exact time frame. The Career Center will be able to answer that for you. And then if you run out of that time frame, you can always purchase it to get help as you're gearing up to apply to grad school in the future.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Julie, I just wanted to jump in really quick. I did a quick search. I'll post the link over to the chat, but it looks like as alumni, the Fullerton Career Center can assist you through 1 year after graduation.
Awesome. Thanks, Carolyn.
Thank you. I got it. Thank you.